Almost 3 years ago, PlanetTech V4 was released in Star Citizen, solidifying what was felt as the initial version of the true planet-building tool. Since that release in Alpha 3.8, not much has changed as the PlanetTech teams refined, upgraded, and expanded their planet-building toolset. With the new star system coming up, it's time to get a better idea of how things have changed and what may be coming next. This is my review of the PlanetTech panel at CitizenCon 2022. If you'd like to see my other coverage, check out the playlist down below. And thank you for coming to my Tomato Talk. Before we look at the specifics that have improved, let me introduce you to the planets of Pyro we were shown at the panel. And just remember, everything here is already in-engine and mostly finished art-wise. So first was Pyro 1, a dark blue planet that is hit by repeated solar flares from the nearby star. It is covered in dark blue crystals of a very vibrant blue color. In this same biome, you can see some new flora has been added to the game as well. This planet also introduces some larger geological structures in the form of rock spires and pancake rocks. Pyro 2 features more variation, but centers on a red hue in the majority of its biomes. In these biomes, it features beautiful red sands and large vertical rock formations. Another biome is sparsely populated by trees in its dry-looking state, but features large bodies of water. It also shows off a new textured surface that looks a little bit like hardened lava flow. Pyro 3 is covered in yellow foliage, very fluffy and thick ground covering and moss. It's the densest vegetation we've seen on a planet in-game so far. The planet also features large bodies of water, with a lot more assets and variety in the coastal region than previous planets. There's also actually a volcanic biome on this planet, which features some light vegetation as well, and beautiful sets of mountain ranges. Pyro 4 is a low-lying planet, inspired by the Scottish Highlands. It's very gloomy, but has a refreshing feel and palette while you're walking around, kind of similar to the first demos of Microtech we saw way back in the day. There's also a ton of shrubland around with a variety of different flora. Now, in other biomes, you'll find massive rock structures that can be explored and flown through. They dominate the landscape amongst the hilltops, sitting high over some amazing low-lying fog that's actually a mistake of the planet editor, but is definitely going to need to stay. Seriously, CIG, keep this on the planet. This is like the best looking thing. Don't change it. There's also a huge crater in this planet, a large monumental geological feature that creates its own biome and mountain ranges. It's visible all the way up from space and represents a new effort from the team to start making every planet more unique in obvious ways. The biomes in this area are definitely more dark and sinister than others we've seen. The valley floor features some igneous-looking rocks, and everything just looks dead. It's going to be great for some machinima. Pyro 5 isn't complete yet, but we know it's supposed to be a yellow-green gas giant with 6 moons in orbit. So instead, we were shown the planet's third moon, 5C. This moon has a similar planetary landmark to Pyro 4 that's actually a bit more reminiscent of a local real-life structure we know about in our own system. This massive scar visible from space also has its own unique texture, geological patterns, and materials. Pyro 5C also features gray, dry areas with rock formations similar to the Ida moon in the Stanton system orbiting around Hurston. You can definitely see more diversity across this moon's biomes more so than the other moons we've seen in the game so far. And I wonder if this will be more of a trend going forward as well, or if the moons will generally stick to just 1 or 2 biomes as we've seen before. Pyro 6 seems to barely have an atmosphere. It is almost impossible to see even over the horizon. The planet itself is patterned by a cratered blue ocean in some parts, which is a really interesting design choice for this one. Down on this cratered surface, it's very dry and pale despite all of these pools of blue liquid surrounding you. There are also some really interesting new rock formations on this planet as well. Of course, there's plenty more to see of these planets, but we only got so much time to look at them during this panel. I imagine there's a lot more that's still being held under wraps to surprise us when we get to visit these one day. So these are the newest planets from the team, but what have we seen actually improve from back in the day when Planetech V4 came out? Let's look at all the details we can find. The most obvious way that things have changed is the team's willingness to no longer play things safe. From the more polarizing biomes to the new large features to the more intense coloring and the massive planet-defining features, these planets are taking advantage of a more dramatized asset and toolset than we've ever gotten to see in Stanton. And many of these features wouldn't be as impactful if not for the improved draw distances. While we've always been blessed with pretty long sightlines, there is plenty of inaccuracy over distance right now in the game. It looks like these features will remain more detailed and precise from a long distance all the way up to right next to them. The ground texturing that we see now is also far better than what we were getting before. From the density of the foliage to the object scattering to the texturing of surfaces, the general look of everything feels much more natural. Speaking of foliage, the actual assets themselves are much higher in quality and detail, the trees, shrubs, and even the rock formations. The vertical faces of rocks and their formations form small cliff sides now and continue to improve the sense of verticality in small spaces that we just weren't getting when this was all first introduced. Coastal biomes have seen a huge improvement with better asset scattering and diversity, and the blending between various biomes is much more natural too, with different avenues of extending each biome into one another, such as ground scatter and color. And something that's not shown during CitizenCon but was also a pretty big part of the improvements to these environments are rivers, which can now be placed with ease around entire planets, soon to also be used for lava generation. But again, I just have to return to the amazing use of scale in these new planets. The new features look good from all distances and make something truly memorable for just about every single planet. From the smaller rock structures to the huge Goliaths of stone all the way up to planet-changing craters and scars from millennia ago. The team has taken the gloves off when it comes to loud and definitive features on these planets. And with this only being the second system made so far, I can only imagine how much further it will go. And that's the thing about the way this game is being built. With an in-house engine, a massive workforce being built, state-of-the-art workplaces, and dozens more planets to make, we're going to see this planetary technology progress and improve for quite some time. We know that lava and roads will be coming in the wake of rivers, seasons will affect the growth of plants on planets that are already rotating and will eventually orbit their stars, dynamic weather systems will create some pretty crazy scenarios, different types of caves will be made to match certain biomes with different forms of play, improved cloud effects are always being pursued in line with the engine team, and of course, fauna continues to be developed by the AI team to eventually add some more interest and danger to planetary surfaces. And this isn't to mention all the other landing zones we've seen that will call for some pretty mind-blowing planet designs. If there's one success that Star Citizen has created for itself, it's beautiful planets. And despite these new ones perhaps not being the massive jump that some were expecting, it shows that the planets will only continue to improve over time. If you want to learn more about the content released at CitizenCon, make sure to check out my playlist featuring all the coverage down below. But if you want to keep getting the best Star Citizen coverage around, consider subscribing to the channel and checking out my weekly live streams where you can ask some questions about these topics. Regardless of what you choose, I hope you learned something new in this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.